Hello and welcome to Books of Blood. My name is John, and today or tonight I'm going to be doing my January 2021 reading wrap-up video. So originally on my TBR I said I had 16 books that I wanted to read. I did get through most of those books. I did get through the ones that I said I needed to read in order to review them that were sent to me. So I got through those. I think I did miss a couple, but overall I read a total of 18 books in January 2021. 16 of them are just regular hardback or paperback books. And then the two of them were on my Kindle. And I'm going to try my best to remember the ratings that I gave all of these books. And if I get any of them wrong, you can look on my Goodreads under Books of Blood or John Mountain, which is my name, of course, or Books of Blood, and you'll find me. All right. And so that being said, I'll go ahead and get the Kindle books out of the way first. The first one, this is one that I had bought from Kindle, and I'd heard a lot of good things about. And this is a book of poetry by Cynthia Pelayo. I believe I'm pronouncing her name correctly. And this is called Into the Forest and All the Way Through. This is a book of poetry, or a book of poetry about different women and children who have disappeared or gone missing in the last, I'm not sure how long. All right. I mean, I believe some of them it says they've been missing since the 60s, and some of them it says, and for every one of these poems, it tells you who they're about and whether they're still missing, when they went missing, who you can contact. This had me in tears. There are a lot of these poems that just absolutely had me in tears. I give this a definite solid 5-star rating. All right. So that is Into the Forest and All the Way Through. And that's by Cynthia Pelayo, or Pelayo. Again, I hope I'm not butchering her name too badly. The other book I read for Kindle, this was sent to me by the author Matthew Quinn. And he has sent me books before. He sent me The Atlanta Incursion and The Thing in the Woods, which The Atlanta Incursion is the sequel to. And he said, hey, would you like to read this? And this book is called Little People, Big Guns. And it is exactly what it says it is about. It is about a group of little people that are being killed. And the other little people, the surviving little people cannot get anybody to do anything about it. So they literally take matters into their own hands. There are little people with guns, of course, big guns. There are angry badgers in this book. All right. This book is a hoot. I believe I gave this 4 stars or maybe 3.5 out of 5 and rounded up to 4. But yeah, it is a lot of fun. This is Little People, Big Guns, and that is by Matthew Quinn. All right. Now, here we go. On to the ones that I don't need to post a picture up for. The first one I read, and I'm doing these in the order that I have them as far as the beginning of January to the end, or to when I finish with this. All right. So the first one I read was A Bright Enchanted Suffering. And this is by Eric LaRocca. And he sent this to me after I read his book, Starving Ghost in Every Thread. He sent me this. There are 2 stories in this book. Both of them the first one deals with a gay couple. And then the second one deals with a recently divorced or a divorced man who is discovering his homosexuality. And both of them deal with both of the parents and this gentleman having to make the right decision in order to save their child. The same-sex couple has a baby, and they've got to make this decision that would alter the fate of their child. And the same thing goes with the divorced gentleman. All right. I went through this thing so fast. I love this. This is a 5-star read. There are parts in this book that are terrifying. There are parts in here that'll make you cry. There are parts in here that you question yourself and what you would do as a parent. All right. I mean, I've got 3 stepdaughters. They are all grown up. They were grown up before I even met my wife. All right. They don't live with us or anything. Okay. So I don't have to go through that. All right. I've never had small children. So, how do you handle something like this? But anyway, this is an absolute 5-star rating. Okay. And that is Starving Ghost in Every Thread. Next up on the review train is Monster. Excuse me. Sorry about that. This is, of course, by Duncan Swan, and this is Volume 1. I gave this one 3 stars. I know a lot of people love this book, but in all, I just felt like it wasn't worth the sum of its parts is the best way for me to describe it. There were some parts of it where I got just absolutely bored. The parts with the monsters were great. I do love that, all right? But overall, I just found this book to be relatively average, all right? So yeah, that is Duncan Swan and Monster and Volume 1. And I keep, excuse me, sorry about that. I keep wondering if I'm going to read Volume 2. I don't know if I am or not, so that's up in the air. All right, next up, we've got from Chad Lutsky and Tim Meyer. Sorry about that. We got Wormwood. And this is about this kid that him and his buddy, they meet this girl. She's like 16 and they're like 12 and 13 or 13 and 14 or something like that. And this girl is pretty much the epitome of bad news. It's like, did you ever have that girlfriend when you were growing up that your parents didn't like, your friends didn't like? Everybody said, get rid of this chick, she's bad news. Well, that is basically what this book is about, okay? I believe I gave this a 4-star rating. I really did enjoy it quite a bit. This is my first time reading either one of these authors, and it did make me want to go on and read more by them as far as individually instead of as a duo. So, and I will be getting to that. And in fact, one of them is on my list here, on this list. All right, another one sent to me by the author is Come Forth and Thaw. And this is by Jason Robert Ducharme. Wow, this one is one of at least 4 books that I read in the month of January that have to do with suicide. And this is about a woman who goes into this state park that is literally known for people going into it to go in to take their own lives. And she goes in there looking for her 17-year-old son. And she is hoping to find him before he can, before he does what she's afraid that he's going to do. Of course, and that's take his own life. And along the way, she meets these rather odd characters that seem to kind of hinder her finding him. All right. And the first part of this book, had me in, there were a lot of the scenes in this book that had me in tears. When I got to the second part of the book, by the time the first part ended and the second part began, I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I mean, this book was just a gut punch of a book. Absolutely fantastic. This is definitely Jason Robert Ducharme's best work so far. He's also done Ceremony of Ashes and Come Forth and Thaw, but this one, man, is just absolutely his best. 5 stars all the way. All right. The Lupine Project by Alan Leveron has to be the most disappointing book on this list. I knew going in this was not a werewolf novel. I knew it was about wolves that had been experimented on, basically turned into super wolves. I knew that it was about a couple that experiences these wolves, and that the one that survives is being tracked down by the government, by the military. And I thought, man, this is going to make for an exciting book, but it just didn't turn out to be that way. I give this 2 stars. There was just a lot of scenes in this that just, I don't know, they just did not work for me whatsoever. So yeah, that's the Lupine Project, 2 stars. And I'm trying to get through this as fast as possible. I know it could turn into a pretty long video, and I'm trying not to do that. Next one up, another one the author sent me is Chapel Street. And this is basically what you could consider to be a Christian horror novel. And it does say The Conjuring meets Hereditary, and that is kind of along the lines that it is. It's about these two families, one specifically being this fellow named Rick Bakos, and his family throughout the years has a history of suicide. And it all revolves around this fortune teller, this witch that has put a spell on his family, and it's up to him and this other person, this woman, to figure out a way to break this spell. I believe I gave this one 4 stars. I love this one a lot more than I thought I would, and I'm really glad that I did reach out to the author and that he was able to send me a copy of it. So yeah, Chapel Street, I'm giving this 4 stars, or I gave it 4 stars. All right, another one sent to me by the author is Downpour, and this is by Ashton McCauley. And this is the 3rd book in the Nick Ventnor series. The first one, A Man of the Mountain, was a prequel to Whiteout, which was the second one. This one is the sequel to Whiteout. This one takes place in the jungles of South America, and there are some really adventurous parts in this book, and there are some really, to me, hilarious parts in this book. Nick gets into a battle with a werewolf in this, and the way he defeats this werewolf, every time I read this, every time I went back and read that part, I would just literally be saying to myself, what the hell, Ashton, what were you thinking? And not in a bad way, because it is the most imaginative way I think anybody has killed off a werewolf in any book, any werewolf book I have ever read. All right, so there you go. There's also a creature in here that you get rid of it by insulting it. I won't say which creature it is, or say which creature it is, but it's really an interesting, funny way. Downpour, I believe I gave it 5 stars. To me, it was Ashton's absolute best work so far. All right, so there you go. What would life be like without the splatter western? And what would life be like without part 5 of the splatter western series? This is Starving Zoe, and this is by C. Derek Miller, and he is wanted for cradle robbing. So anyway, this is about this fella that is from New York. He is an older fella, probably about in his 30s, I believe. And he meets this street urchin or street waif or whatever named Zoe. And I believe she's probably about 16 years old or whatever. And he falls in love with her. But he doesn't touch her. But anyway, they move out west because they're on the run from a murder that he committed. Or the two of them committed. And he, instead of being sentenced to death, he is recruited into the army. When he comes back from the army after a couple of years, he finds out that she has been shacking up with the natives. In other words, I mean the Native Americans. And he is very angry about this. And he leaves her out in the desert to die. And she comes back basically as a skinwalker. And just makes his life an absolute living hell throughout. There's a lot of sexual talk in this. There's a lot of weird sexual talk in this. Very graphic. I know some people said on Goodreads they couldn't finish this book. I loved it myself. I think I gave this 4 stars. I may be wrong. I may have given it 5, but I think I gave it 4 stars. But yeah, this is Starving Zoe, and this is by C. Derek Miller. All right. Next up, I've got The Witching House, and this is by Brian Moreland. And this is literally about this house, this cabin in the woods that is, I guess the best way to put it would be it is possessed by the spirit of this witch. At the beginning of the book, there is a massacre scene where there are like 25 people that are massacred in this house. And then you have this group of like ghost hunters or paranormal researchers who go to the house and encounter all kinds of terror, all kinds of horror. They're like, the house is like living, the house is like hungry. It literally wants people to be able, it wants to be able to consume people. All right. I mean, there are vines coming out of the walls. There's like all kinds of gross stuff. I think I gave this a 5-star rating, and I'm going to segue into the next book because both of these books are very similar because they both have to do with witches and curses. The next one, another one I gave a 5-star rating to, is Into the Hollow. And I am trying to remember the exact plot of this book. Oh yeah, I know it is about the father of one of the kids tells the story of this witch. I believe her name was Amelia, and how she was hanged after everybody in the town started dying of some kind of disease, but she didn't get sick, so everybody said, well, she's a witch. So they burn her, or they don't burn her, they hang her. And the area where they hang her, the tree and the house that she used to live in, is supposed to be haunted, and the church in that area. So these kids go, after hearing the story, they want to find out how true it is. And when they go, they basically all come back cursed by this this demon, or this spirit known as a Dybbuk, and it's a dream demon. And whenever they fall asleep, kind of like Freddy Krueger, they wake up pretty much with this overwhelming urge to take their own lives. This one was very graphic, very messy. There were some pretty grotesque scenes in this that, really raised the bar for me on this one. And this is another one. I love this. I absolutely recommend it. It was a 5-star read for me. So there you go. That was Into the Hollow. All right, next up, another splatter western. And this time we've got A Savage Breed. And this is by Patrick C. Harrison III. And Patrick is wanted for firing a cannon at tax collectors. Why is he wanted for that? He'd be my hero or something. Anyway, this is one of these books where all the people, the main characters of the books, come together at the end and they find out things about each other they really did not want to find out. Things that were going to make them very angry with each other. All right, there's a lot of murder in this. There's a girl in here. She's 15 years old, and to me, she is a cross between Calamity Jane and the character of Lottie in Nick Cave's album or song, "The Curse of Millhaven." I mean, this girl is a homicidal, sociopathic, psychopathic. Yeah, I love this character. What was her name? Lizzie. Lizzie. She goes by Liz, or Liz Sawyer. Anyway, there's that. There's a gang of thieves that killed the local sheriff. There is another gentleman. His wife and daughter have been killed, and he's out for revenge. He believes it was the Native Americans, or let's be honest, they were called Indians back then. Okay, I'm not trying to be politically incorrect or anything like that. He believes it was the Comanches that killed them, and he's out to kill every Comanche, every Indian he comes across. Anyway, all of these merge together at the end and meet up. But that is not all. Also, tracking them or making life miserable for them are these winged creatures that resemble a cross between humans and pterodactyls, is the best way you could put it. So all of them have to face off against these things also. So yeah, that is Savage Breed. Funny at times, terrifying at times, never boring. I believe I gave this a 4-star, maybe a 4.5-star rating. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. All right, I'm getting down to the end of this. I know it's a long video. I hope it uploads because I don't know how much room I've got on my phone. The next one is a graphic novel, and this is A Study in Emerald. And this is by Neil Gaiman. The artwork is by Raphael Albuquerque. This is a takeoff of A Study in Scarlet, which was a Sherlock Holmes story by Arthur Conan Doyle, or Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. And so A Study in Emerald, but this is a mashup between Sherlock Holmes' world and the world of cosmic horror and of H.P. Lovecraft. I don't think I would be giving anything away, but they go, now it doesn't say this guy's name is Sherlock, all right? It's a different name that they give here, But for all intents and purposes, it's Sherlock Holmes, okay? But anyway, and him and Dr. Watson go to visit Queen Victoria. Let me see if I can find this. I hate to be so slow. Yeah, if you look here, when they go to visit Queen Victoria, you find out that Queen Victoria is like one of the elder gods. You can see the tentacles coming out of her. She's wearing a mask. And it's very evident that Sherlock has been the visitor before, because he's just like, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And she's like telling him what he needs to do to solve this case and everything. I really enjoyed this one. I believe I gave it 4 stars. Really awesome mashup of the two worlds. So, yeah, and of course, you can't go wrong with Neil Gaiman, all right? So, there you go. All right, next one up is another one I received from the author. I just reviewed this one. It is called What I Saw. It's by James Yeary. And this is basically 3 separate stories that when you read them separately, you're like, okay. But you start to realize that all 3 of these stories have elements, or that they all tie into each other to form one bigger story. And the bigger story is about an otherworldly evil, whether it's I'm not sure if it's a UFO, not sure if it's something like a cosmic horror evil. But like I said, all 3 stories tie into each other. I believe I gave this one 4.5 out of 5 stars. So yeah, I just recently finished this one, okay? All right. 3 more to go. And these last 3 I read in like, it took me one probably 4-hour sitting to finish these. Love these. The first one is a graphic novel. This is Witches. And this is volume 1. And one thing about this is it does end, it has a definitive ending. All right. This is about a family that moves from one town to another after something occurs with their daughter, something rather tragic, and they want to move to another town because they don't want that whole everybody looking at her, making fun of her, pointing fingers at her. But they, the woods where they're near where they live, there are these creatures that are known as witches. Now, whether they're actual witches, I'm not exactly sure. But what people will do is they will pledge other people to these creatures in order to gain a boon. You know, like, let's say one of them is wants to be rich, all right? And that's not something in the book. But if they pledge somebody and these witches take this person and they eat them, that is what they do. They eat them, okay? They receive some kind of boon, which would mean like if they want riches, they would get riches, all right? And so on and so forth. This was awesome. This is one of the best graphic novels, a top-notch 5-star graphic novel. No, wait, I gave it 4 stars. I'm sorry, 4 stars. The reason I gave it 4 stars was because there were parts of this where I was a little confused about what was going on, and I probably should give it a 4.5-star rating, but I'm going to stick with 4 stars on this one. But overall, this was absolutely awesome. All right? And some of the scenes in this, the artwork is very... I'm not really sure how you describe the artwork, but if you look right here in the first one, I don't know if you can see it, but if you look, there's a tree, and there's a hole here, nothing there. Then you go down to here, nothing here. Then you come right here, and you can see an eye looking from outside the tree, and then finally somebody hollering, "Please help me." You know, first thing you're looking at is how the hell did they end up in this tree? And it just kind of blows your mind, all right? So, yeah, the Witches, 4.5 stars, all right? Well, 4 stars, 4 stars. Next up, from Keelan Patrick Burke, I've got Sour Candy. And this is about a guy that he is at Walmart, and he's buying candy, chocolate, for him and his girlfriend, so they can go home, basically veg out on chocolate, watch TV, have sex and all that. But anyway, there's a kid in the store that is screaming at the absolute top of his lungs. The mother is just like, her hair looks like it's been pulled out. She is at the end of her rope. All right. So he's driving home. He gets into a fender bender. Turns out the person that hit him is the woman in the store. But there is no kid in sight. He gets home after talking with detectives, and the detectives tell him that the same kid that he described is at his house, and somehow or another, he's got a kid that he never had. I mean, literally never had. In fact, everything has changed around where it indicates that he has this kid now. And to say this kid is one of those that fits into the creepy kid category, yeah, that would be an understatement, because this kid makes this guy's life a absolute living hell. And I don't want to go much farther into it, but to me, this was kind of one of those books that was about a little more underlying theme to it. I found it to be about parents or people that are just not prepared to have a child. You know, like say you're young, you're getting jiggy with your girlfriend, she comes up pregnant, and you're just like, oh, what the hell do I do? You're so unprepared. And that's kind of the way I saw this book. But yeah, I love this, man. It was a 5-star rating for me for sure. All right. So yeah, there you go. Sour candy. All right, moving on. Last one right here. This is my first time reading Chad Lutsky, and I keep asking myself, what took me so long to read Chad Lutsky? And I mean individually, not like the one I read with him and Tim Meyer. This is The Pale White, and this is about these 3 girls. The first one is Alex, and she's kind of a goth punk chick, and she thinks that she is a vampire with a thirst for blood. Then you got Stacia. She's 17 years old. She's raised by an alcoholic mother. And she's captive with Alex. All right. Then you have Cammy. Cammy is a 9-year-old girl. She doesn't talk. Her only companion besides these 2 girls is a houseplant that she kind of finds solace in. But what happens is these 3 girls have been captured by this fella just known as Doc. And what he's doing is he's selling these girls out for sexual favors or sexual, enjoyment. The girls end up killing him, and then start figuring out ways to make their escape. A lot of this takes place in the same house where the girls were held captive. But then it does branch out finally. I don't want to give away too much, but man, this was one of those like Come Forth and Thaw that literally felt like a punch in the gut for me. This one just resonated very heavily with me. I felt so bad for these girls. I literally, there were just scenes in this book where they do encounter people that know this guy and try to stop them, and I'm just thinking, just kill them, Yeah, definite 5-star read for me, and I'm definitely going to be reading more Chad Lutsky in the future, all right? So that is my reading wrap-up for January of 2021. I hope on my thumbnail that I did put 2021, not 2020. I think I put 2020. I hope I didn't. Anyway, that's my wrap-up. I'm going to post this on Wednesday afternoon. So until then, thank you guys for watching, and have a great evening, okay? Bye.